Good to see you.
Just give me a moment while I set us up.
But we can
And video. All right, so Mr. Valle. All right, y'all can come up.
Oh, there's no arrow on the floor today.
We had those down there forever and pretend, everybody should now know the distance, right? And you guys are invading the distance. Push back a little. There we go. All right, so Mr. Valle, it's the court's understanding that you wish to have a jury trial.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, well, let me send this to me. That's to me. Okay. All right. So is Mr. Porter on his way? I don't. All right, so everyone just step back a moment because I thought we were going on a different case, but they're not here yet. So just give us a moment.
We will relax. Thank you,
Thank
Judge.
you. I was just about to release you.
Judge, I think Marcus thought 2 p.m.
All right, let me check with Robert Porter and see. Can you check with Marcus and see if it's 2 p.m.?
Oh, I did. I just messaged him and I was
Okay.
like, so are y'all up or we are? But he said 2 p.m. So I guess he thought 2 p.m.
All right, let's see.
Excuse me, judges, Mr. Rocha in there, so I can go over the amended conditions.
Is Mr. Rocha?
No, he's not.
No, he's not here.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Oh, here. See, Mr. Porter. Hi, Mr. Porter. Hi. Awesome. All right. So, Mr. Valle, if you all can come up now.
We come back.
So it's my understanding with Mr. Valle's case, there is not going to be an agreement. Is that correct?
That is correct, Your
All
Honor.
right. So, Mr. Valle, after this point, which is after today, and I know I've said this before, but I allow people to discuss matters. The court is not going to accept any plea bargain agreements after today. You understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Norma, when can we set this for a jury trial as soon as possible? Are we able to put that on the 19th?
Yeah.
All right, we're going to come back on April 19th on your case for jury trial.
April 19th.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
And it's at 9 a.m.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very
And
much.
your excuse, we need to get a reset form for you. Did you have a question? about
No,
that?
I was just gonna say blessings to you. That's all.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate blessings. You just, I always tell people you're in charge of your own happiness, but you've made today a great day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Judge.
All right, so if you're just waiting in the
19th.
courtroom, they'll give you a reset form. All right, if, Mr. Bartholomew, who are you here for?
I'm here for two people, Your Honor. I'm here for Mr. McGarity, Mr. Gish. Apologize for asking the judge that I did that. So,
No problem. All right, and where's Mr. McGarity and Mr.
McGarity's
Legish?
outside of the hall with the doors locked.
All right, so if we can have Mr. McGarity come in and Mr. Legish.
Thank you very much. You'll have a great day. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you for your patience.
Yes, sir.
Oh, yes, you approached, yes.
Thank you, Judge. We're approaching.
All right, so Mr. McGarry.
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, Mr. McGarry. So, Mr. McGarry, you need to make sure that you're on time every time at 9 a.m., okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so, Mr. McGarry, my understanding is that you're not accepting any offers from the state, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so, Mr. McGarry, after today, the court is not accepting any plea bargaining agreements in your case, you understand?
Yes.
Another case is, they're saying that they're ready to go to trial, Mr. Bartholomew. You
Yes.
told me that you're ill, so of
Yes, ma'am.
course, we want Mr. Bartholomew 100%.
Well, thank you,
Although
Judge. My
my-
client wants me 100%.
Yes, although with you, 50% is very good. We still want you at
Thank you.
100%. Ms. Ferguson, what date can we bring Mr. McGarity back for jury trial?
We can do the 19th as well.
All right, so he's gonna be back on April 19th
That's fine, Judge.
for jury trial.
Mr. Lagish, we're working on Mr. Lagish stating that right now. There may be a plea to resolve.
All right, so Mr. McGarry, just do not leave without a reset form. They're gonna give you a reset form and we'll see you on April 19th.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Judge.
You're welcome. All right, who's the next attorney who's here for someone? Which attorney wants to go next? All right, Louis Martinez. All right, do you have Mr. All right. Mr. Bartholomew.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, thank you.
All right. So, Mr. Avalos, I've noted that y'all have all the discovery, an offer has been tendered, that offer has been rejected. And Mr. Avalos, you wish to have a jury trial?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Mr. Avalos, after today, even though I said it before, the court will not accept any plea bargaining agreements, you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so Ms. Ferguson, on Mr. Avalos, can I have a jury trial date for him? And there's another case that's going before yours, Mr. Martinez.
That'll be the 26th.
All right, so you need to appear in court, you're dressed appropriately for trial. We'll see you on April 26th.
Thank you.
Make sure you get the reset form.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, and Ms.
Yes, Judge.
Lamar.
Judge, I'm here on Mr. Jose Parada's case.
All right, good, come up. And the person who was here for Mr. Rocha? Rocha? Hi, Mr. Rocha, if you could probably, I don't know if you have the ability to Zoom with you or no?
If I could, not with me, but I can go back to the office if that's. preferable.
No, it's for Rebecca Reyes to go over conditions with your client.
Okay,
But if not, if you go in the back, they'll let you use the computer back there to Zoom.
okay,
in.
okay.
All right,
I'll do
thank
that.
you.
Thank you, Judge.
All right, and what is your client's name?
Mr. Jose Parada, actually, Judge, I do apologize. Does there have to be
Spanish?
yeah, Spanish speaker? So, you know, we'll go to the end of the line if necessary.
Okay, yes. And if you, Ms. Ferguson, we get an interpreter. All right, who's next?
Your Honor, may I-
Yes.
I'm here on behalf of Jaime Soto. Jaime Soto. I have filed a motion to sub on this case on Friday,
A motion to what?
to substitute counsel on Friday.
Yes.
We have just received, we're served the indictment today in court, so we'd respectfully request at least 10 days to prepare on the indictment. We were only served today.
But wasn't he served with his other attorney previously?
No, he's never been served as indictment. He's only served as indictment today.
So he's never been served with his indictment before today?
Judge, I cannot verify that. I'm not sure how the defendant usually gets the indictment, but it would be public record. I think the defense would have had access to it through the court file.
All right. Defense, do you have all the discovery?
I believe I do, Your Honor.
All right. In state, have you tendered an offer to the defense?
We have, Judge.
All right, and Vince, are you rejecting that offer?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, the court is not going to consider any plea bargaining agreements after today. So what will end up happening is you'll be scheduled for jury trial, Mr. Soto. Ms. Ferguson, can I have a jury trial date for Mr. Soto? And that's not the regular attorney in this court, so it can be on any day.
And Ms. Ferguson, is it okay if I would ask for May 9th possibly? So Civil Rights Division jumps around to different courts and we're set for first weekend of May. on different
That'll be
days.
fine by me, Your
First
Honor.
week.
I'm gonna go look at the Excel file, so we have.
All right, if you can go.
Let's go look in the back real quick.
All right, thank you.
Just 1 second.
Also, May 16th would work well as well. Yes.
1 second.
Judge, what happened on Crayon?
I'm sorry.
On Cram, the one that I used to be on.
Oh, listen.
Was it? I figured the pictures were better. It was bad. It was a bad. I've never seen an injury job that was with pictures like that. You never do. It's usually like a little scratch or something, but that was pretty bad.
Can we go on mute? Just a little bit. Mr. Meyer?
Yes, Your Honor. Good afternoon. I'm ready to go over the final paperwork with a Luke Cantu in custody.
All right, as soon as we, let me see. Let me see where he is. Just give me a moment. All right, May 9th. And Donna, could you call the jail and let them know we need Mr. Hampton? All right, your jury trial is going to be May 9th at 9 a.m.
Thank you.
All right, who's the next attorney?
I'll go, Your Honor.
All right, who do you have?
Eduardo Munoz.
That's fine.
We went over this yesterday.
Okay,
Remember,
So you need
kind of a
him-
poor- I don't.
all right. Well, you can send him back. We'll get a jury trial date. Just 1 moment.
Yeah, remember yesterday afternoon I got on, he was on.
Yes. He has 1, 2, 3, 4 cases, and I want to make sure we put them first so we can get these cases off the docket. All right, May 26th. Thank you.
May 26. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
April
April, I'm sorry.
26th.
I don't, okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
All right, let me take up Mr. Winter, your client. Hello, Mr. Trevino.
Trejo.
Trejo. How you doing, Mr. Trejo?
I'm doing great, ma'am.
How's your gout?
It hurts a little bit, but not too bad.
What are you taking for that?
I take ibuprofen.
Oh, gosh, you have to take more than that.
Yeah, but if I catch it early, it releases swelling and I'm good. If it gets any worse, I got some medicine stuff with old.
Okay, what medicine do you take?
I don't know. I can't remember the name of it offhand now. But it is documented at the Burke County June.
Oh, okay. Find your file. All right, Mr. Trejo, do you understand, and I'm gonna put it in the docket, that you are outside talking to jurors? You understand you're not allowed to do that?
I do that. I don't understand now.
And so we can't use this jury trial for you
This one.
because it's been tainted,
This one.
for want of a better word. What else would we call it, Mr. Winter?
I think that's a legal term for it, Judge.
So, Mr. Winter, I'm gonna put on the record so that it will be noted the reason for the reset. Brenna?
I'm ready.
All right, we're going on the record in 2021 CR 8228, State of Texas versus Dennis Trejo
Yes.
For the defense.
John Winter for the defendant.
And are you Mr. Trejo?
Yes, I am.
All right, Mr. Trejo was scheduled for a jury trial today. Jurors were in the hallway and Mr. Trejo was conversing with the jurors, letting the jurors know who he was and that he was here for a jury trial. And so
That is incorrect.
that has
Okay.
that has tainted the jury pool. And therefore we cannot use this jury trial for you. Do you understand, Mr.
Yes, ma'am.
Trejo? Mr. Winter, you understand? We can't use that jury.
Understood, Judge.
Mr. Trejo, do you understand that when you're brought for jury trial, you're not to be speaking with the panel in the hallway as they wait to come in?
Okay.
Because, well, that's not an okay, that's either yes or no. Do you understand?
Yes, I understand.
All right, because you want a fair trial and the state wants a fair trial. For example, if the jury's out in the hallway and the state goes by and they're speaking to the jurors saying, hey, I'm here for a jury trial and it's going to be in this court, that wouldn't be right. Or if the complainant on your case were to come here and they're waiting outside to testify and they go up and down the jury hallway and say, hey, jurors, I'm here. I've been, victimized or something's happened to me and my trial is going to be heard today. I don't think you would want them to do that, right?
I wouldn't, absolutely not.
All right, so the next time you come for your jury trial, there is going to be jurors in the hallway.
Okay.
You are not allowed to converse with them. You understand?
Understood.
Because you want a fair trial, state wants a fair trial, right?
Yes.
All right, Ms. Ferguson or Mr. Trejo, what day for jury trial?
We can do April 26th.
All right, so you're going to come back on April 26th for jury trial.
Yes, ma'am.
And take care of the gout.
Thank you, ma'am.
They tell me, we're off the record, they tell me, I think cherry juice. But you have to do
Yes.
100% cherry
Cherry
juice,
juice.
right?
Never
He
heard that
knows. All right, bye, Mr. Trejo.
Okay, ma'am.
All right, and
Enjoy.
take care of that cut.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
All right, who's next? Mr. Lar, you and your clock.
Thank you, Norma.
Hi, how you doing?
Good to see
You too? And what is your client's name?
Jose Parada, Your Honor.
Okay. We're not on the record. Mr. Parada, you were set here for jury trial today, but another case is going. Defense, I note on the document sheet that you received all the discovery. Is that correct?
Yes, Judge, that's correct.
And you received an offer from the state?
That's correct, Your Honor.
And your client is rejecting the offer?
He has rejected the offer. That's correct, Judge.
All right, Mr. Parada. The court will not accept any plea bargain agreements after today. So I'm going to set you for a jury trial. Do you understand?
See.
Yes. Ms. Ferguson, what is the jury trial date?
Judge, if I may, Mr. Parada has been asking for a trial for quite some time now. And I know the court's setting some of these court dates for trial later on in May. Is it any way possible for Mr. Parada to have his trial on the May 2nd date? I know we have court that day in the 187th, but I'm not sure if that's a possibility. Again, he just wants to have his day in trial. We believe that it'll be a favorable outcome for us, Your Honor, but we'd ask if that's a possibility.
All right, Ms. Ferguson, is May 2nd available? All right, and we'll have jurors for that day. Mr. Lara, because we're still have our set days for jurors, even though we do it every week. We have specific days. Okay. All right, we'll do it May 2nd.
Thank you, Judge.
All right, we're gonna set you for May 2nd. We're gonna get you a reset form. All right, and Mr. Parada, I don't make any assumptions that people who don't speak English are not citizens. I appreciate the fact that people speak more than one language, as the interpreter does. But Mr. Lara, is your client a citizen?
He is, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. I think I've asked you that before.
Yeah, Judge, I'll oversee.
And the reason why I asked that, Mr. Parada, because I'd like to make sure that everyone, if they need an immigration attorney, they have one.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Judge. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank
May I be
you.
excused?
Yes, thank
Good
you.
to see you.
You too. All right, who is next? Matthew Allen?
No, I'm on Jose Parada as well.
I'm sorry?
I'm on Jose Parada as well.
Oh, okay, bye-bye.
I'm next, Judge.
All right, thank you.
Later.
All right, bye-bye. Okay.
It's Ferguson. Oh,
Mr. Derek?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I wanted you to meet with your attorney The attorney who's been appointed to represent you is Mr. Cornelius Cox and Mr. James Toshi. I'm going to send you both into breakout room number 1.
All right, thank you, Judge.
You're welcome. And has this case been indicted?
No.
Okay.
It's Brady Motion.
Okay.
He just recently got arrested.
All right, if you can make note on the docket somewhere that he was appointed. Mr. Cantu, if you could go to a breakout room with your attorney, please. I'm going to send you to breakout room number 2. Mr. Meyer, if you go to number 2, please.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And who's the attorney for Mr. Reeves?
It's David Woodard.
All right, Mr. Reeves, we're waiting for your attorney.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm gonna go to the back and call her. Sorry. Yeah, whatever.
Mr. Cox and Mr. Toshi, you're both done?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, and you know the prosecutor is on the case?
I would imagine will be the first chair, so we'll make contact with him.
All right, so if you all can do that then. And Mr. Grummer, the defense attorney on the other case is going to be Joseph Esparza. So
Okay.
you all can start with discovery off docket.
Sounds like a plan. I'm assuming this is Derek Centimore and Luna, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
All right, thank
Allegedly.
you.
Allegedly.
Their name.
All right. We'll put the allegedly in front of that, Mr. Cox. All right, thank you all so much.
No, those are their names. We'll stick with
That we don't admit it allegedly at this point.
All right, thank you, Mr. Cox. All right, Ms. Ferguson, can you let them know that Mr. Derek can go back?
All right.
Thank you. You all
Thank
have
you,
a great
Judge.
rest of your day. Bye-bye.
All right.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for being here. I'd like to make sure that when we have jury trials, that jurors are here and we move as quickly as possible so that you are not waiting in the hallway. So many of our cases ended up working out today. That's why you're not needed today. However, I'm sorry, if you could take off your hat. Yes. However, if you would like to, you can go back down to the central jury room and be placed on another jury panel, or you can be excused for the day. Wait a minute, see, people are smiling and rushing. Let it marinate for a little bit. Think about it. Just don't run through the doors. I saw the smells. But I'm Stephanie Boyd. I'm the judge of the 187th District Court. And we do appreciate you all for coming down, because we cannot have jury trials if we don't have a key element. And the key element that's needed for jury trials are jurors, unless you're doing a bench trial. So our cases have been taken care of. So we can take a vote. How many people want to go back downstairs and be considered for another jury panel? I don't see anyone raising their hand. All right, so, yes. See, that is so awesome. What is your name? Jennifer, I appreciate it. Let's applaud Jennifer. And let's see if the applause will continue. So since Jennifer wants to go back downstairs, it must be unanimous. Everybody has to go downstairs and be placed on a panel. But no, Jennifer, I really appreciate that, because as you all know, we have a lot of cases and we're trying to get trials completed as quickly as possible, but also making sure that everyone's due process rights are honored. So I appreciate you all for coming down. If you ever want to come by the 187th District Court, you're more than welcome to come by. I think it's very important that people see the system and see how it works. I've had the honor and pleasure of going to different countries and seeing how their justice systems work. And there's always something that you may want to tweak here or tweak there, but this is the system that we have until there's a law that changes it. And so we do our best. The attorneys do their best. And when I say attorneys, I mean the defense and the state. So everybody is just doing their part to hopefully make sure that the system is better and that runs appropriately. So thank you all so much for coming, and enjoy Fiesta, but not too much. So everyone, make sure you get those cards. And the thing about those cards that you're getting, you do get paid for your jury service. You may get a letter in the mail or a check in mail a month from now, and you're going to be shocked and surprised. It'll be enough for you to buy a nice lunch if you want to. Yes. So if you want to, you can be surprised when you receive that in the mail, or if you want to donate it, you can donate it. They give it different places. For example, I would always donate mine to foster children. So you can say where you want your check donated to if you don't want to receive it. And if you want to donate it, you can just go down to the jury room. They have a little box for you to check, and they won't send it to you. They'll send it to the appropriate facility where it's donated. So thank you all again so much for coming. I hope you have a great rest of your day. And I don't know, it's supposed to rain, that's what they say, but it's Texas, who knows? All right. Thank you all. And thank you, Jennifer. I'm gonna go take a nap and go
Basement.
Basement, okay.
Don't forget to get your parking ticket validated.
Is there a spot in the basement?
Just put where the windows at.
Oh, okay.
And they have more excuses for this.
So this is we'll get some of the together later. I've never done this before.
Those are the actually excuses for people that didn't work. We have
No.
Judge is pretty approachable. Judge.
Yes.
He has a question for you.
Yes, hi.
Hello. So I'm an engineering student, but I am a criminal law nerd. And so like I would read up like Supreme Court cases and all of that.
David Woodard. Yes.
Yes, Judge.
Yes, what is happening with your client, Mr. Reeves?
I need to speak with him, Judge. I've never visited with him.
All right, Mr. Reeves, I'm gonna send you to breakout room number 1.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, you might deserve it.
all right, Mr. Curry, which case are we proceeding on? What cause number?
Yeah, no, 2022 CR 2565.
Judge, if a discovery was done, it would have been done under the old cause number, so I'll do one right now for the.
Okay.
Judge, when possible, can I speak with a family violence prosecutor?
Yes, just give me one moment. All right, Ms. Hayden, can you go to a breakout room with Mr. Woodard, please? If you can call those attorneys. Ms. Hayden, if you can go to a breakout room with Mr. Woodard, please. Thank you. And what date are we join Mr. Construct? Yes, they can be on Zoom, but they need to come in now. Mr. Robinette?
Yes, Your Honor.
So the date you've been given has been April 26th. Is that a good date for you?
Let me double check here. It is, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. So we'll do it on April 26th. Thank you, Mr. Robinette.
Appreciate it. Good to see you.
You two have a good one. Tell your baby I said hi.
I will. I'll cry at him for you.
Okay.
It's April 26th. There's an issue with the OL.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, let me see. All right. Court is calling 2022 CR 2565 State of Texas versus Lamont Curry. I have parties announced for the record for the state,
Marcus Sanders.
for the defense.
Robert Porter.
And are you Mr. Curry?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Are both parties ready, state?
Yes, Judge, just need to enter the discovery acknowledgement to defense and put it on the record.
All right.
We are ready, and I just need to put something on the record briefly.
All right, outside the presence of the court?
No.
Okay. Yes, I mean, I understand, but yes, you can put something on the record, Mr.
No. Judge, I had filed a few motions. Never got a ruling on them. However, I want to tell the court that the state did comply with them anyway. We've been talking about it. I had filed a motion for discovery of the witness list. They did tender me a witness list, Your Honor. I also filed a Brady motion. It's my understanding there was no Brady information, that they had just tendered everything to discovery. And also made a request to the state of Texas under 44B and 0609 and 3707, and they have complied with that.
All right, thank you. And just so the record is clear, the court has not received any of those motions. And I'm sure that you filed them, but I don't have them in any document. So to the clerks in the back, could I please have the motions and which cause number did you file them under?
Under the 2022 CR 2565.
All right, so to the clerks, could I please have the pretrial motions on 2022 CR 2565? Thank you. And everyone, just give me a moment. All right, and have you received the Zoom, I'm sorry, the discovery printout from?
I have, Your Honor, it's been signed.
Yes, sir. May I approach?
Yes. All right, and Mr. Porter, you received all the discovery and viewed it with your client?
I have.
Or for the record, we'll find that the state is in compliance with discovery. All right, so Mr. Porter, I do have your motion for discovery, and you said state that the state has complied with that.
I'm sorry, just the echo is really.
All right, Mr. Porter, just one moment.
Is it yours?
Yes, it's me. Mr. Porter, the court is in receipt of your motions. The motion for discovery of the names and addresses of the state's witness, you state that the state has complied with that.
They have, Your Honor, yes.
And then, of course, the motion to voir dire of the expert witness that will occur if an expert is called.
That's correct.
The request for notice of extraneous offenses under 404B and 609 and 3707. The state has complied with that.
They have, Your Honor.
And then motion for discovery of exculpatory and mitigating evidence, the state has complied with that.
They have, Your Honor.
All right, are both sides ready to proceed?
Yes, Judge. Just one other thing that we need to do prior to reading the indictment.
Yes.
There are 3 counts. We are waiving or striking through count 1.
All right, just one moment. Let me grab the indictment. All right, so the court has a copy of the indictment.
Yes, Judge. So count 1, we are waiving count 1.
You're waiving count 1.
Yes, Your Honor.
Defense, any objection to the waiver of count 1 of the indictment?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, then count 1 is waived. Anything else, state?
No, Your Honor.
All right, and then both parties are, I believe, defense, you stated you wanted to place something on the record.
Oh, I'm sorry, Judge.
You stated you wanted to place something on the record.
That was the motions.
Oh, okay. Defense, anything you wish to put on the record before we begin?
State no, Judge.
All right.
Okay, I was a little back. You're saying state and then looking at me.
I know. Well, that's because my glasses are for distance. And so not really looking at you. Because my vision is
No,
not
way
that
out.
far.
Between the talking across the canyon and
Yes. All right, state.
Did you want to rise, Judge?
Yes. All right, Mr. Curry, if you could rise, please.
True bill of indictment. In the name and by authority of the state of Texas, the grand jury of Bexar County, state of Texas, duly organized, impaneled, and sworn as such at the March term AD 2022 of the 175th Judicial District Court of said county and said court at said term, do present in and to said court that in the county and state aforesaid and anterior to the presentment of this indictment. Count 2, on or about the 12th day of July 2021, Lamont J. Curry, hereinafter referred to as defendant, did use and exhibit a deadly weapon, namely a knife or a shank, that in the manner of its use and intended use was capable of causing death and serious bodily injury, and defendant did intentionally and knowingly threaten imminent bodily injury to Daniel Rene Gonzalez, hereinafter referred to as complainant, by exhibiting and pointing said deadly weapon at and in the direction of the complainant.
And how do you plead to count?
Not guilty.
Sorry?
Not guilty.
Thank you.
Count 3, on or about the 12th day. Sorry, Judge, there's some language I need to strike from that. It repeats on or about the 12th day, so I'll strike on or about the 12th day, the first portion of that.
All right, any objections
No
from the
objection.
state? I'm sorry, from the defense.
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, state.
On or about the 12th day of July 2021, Lamont J. Curry, hereinafter referred to as defendant, did use and exhibit a deadly weapon, namely a knife or a shank, that in the manner of its use and intended use was capable of causing death and serious bodily injury, and defendant did intentionally and knowingly threaten imminent bodily injury to Brandon Gonzalez, hereinafter referred to as complainant, by exhibiting and pointing said deadly weapon at and in the direction of the complainant.
How do you plead to that, Guilty, not guilty, or no contest?
Guilty, Your Honor.
Against the peace and dignity of the state, signed the foreman of the grand jury.
All right, is there any opening statements from either side?
If the court would like to hear opening, we're prepared to, but if not, we can jump into evidence.
All right, defense, do you have any objection to the state not providing an opening statement?
No objection, Judge.
All right, then, state call your first witness.
The state calls Everly Rodriguez.
All right, if you can raise your right hand for me, please. Do you solemnly swear affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God? All right, you can lower your hand, and if you can state your name for the record, have a seat. And I'm gonna need you to make sure that you speak up so that the defense counsel and that I, and also that Ms. DeMoss can hear you.
Okay, my name is Everly Rodriguez.
All right, state.
Everly, where are you currently employed?
Roofix,
And where were you employed in July of 2021?
Hooters.
Which Hooters location were you working at?
It's gonna be the one on the Riverwalk.
And is that here in Bear County?
Yes,
Do you remember July 12th of 2021?
yes, I do.
And were you working that day?
Yes.
What happened during your shift that day?
It was my 6th day of working at Hooters. I was serving my first section on my own, and I was serving 2 tables at that time, and then I had a table of 3 walk in, and they sat down at my table 30.
And Everly, when you say you had a group, did you say a group of 3 walk-ins? Is that what you
Yes.
said? Was that 3 men, 3 women? Who walked into that?
It was 3 men.
And what happened after they sat down at your table?
I got with my manager, and because they had already walked in with a drink in their hand.
So they walked into the Hooters location with alcohol in their hand already?
Yes.
And were they already seated at your table?
Yes, they were.
Okay. And what happened after that?
My manager told me
Objection,
to,
hearsay, Judge.
Sustained.
Everly, what did you do once they sat down at the table?
I walked to my manager, and she had saw the alcoholic beverage, so I didn't walk up to them first. So I walked to my manager, and she had advised me not to.
Judge,
so
objection, hearsay.
Sustained.
And Everly, I just want to tell you that when you answer my question, just tell me what you did.
Okay.
Were they allowed to bring alcohol into the Hooters location?
No.
Is there
Everyone, just one moment, please. Mr. Meyer?
Thank you for your patience. I need to get a copy of the plea paperwork to go over with the defendant, because I don't see what he's seeing, and I need a copy of the plea paperwork to explain it to him. That's all I need.
All right, thank you. They'll make sure that you receive that, Mr. Meyer.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, sorry about that. You may proceed.
Everly, based on your conversation with your manager, were you allowed to serve them alcohol?
No.
Did you take your order or take their order after that?
No, I did not. I asked if they would like to order anything, and they said they just wanted alcohol beverage.
Okay. And what happened after that?
After I refused to serve them alcohol, I'm not too sure of the defendant's name, but he stood up and he asked to speak with my manager. And I did let them know that I would bring the manager to them, but he went ahead and proceeded to go talk to the manager about why I wouldn't serve them alcohol beverages.
Okay, and Everly, let's back up a little bit. Can you describe the 3 male individuals that were seated at the table?
One was Hispanic, maybe, and maybe just a little bit, maybe a little bit taller than me. Nothing more than that to that description. And then the other male was tall, dark skinned, and was wearing black. That's all I remember from that description. And then the third male was shorter, and he was maybe a mix of, I couldn't tell if it was either Caucasian or Hispanic. And that's the only description I have of him.
After the male left to go speak to the manager, what did you do?
I stayed at the table.
And just to clarify, which male went to go speak to your manager?
The tall, dark skin.
Do you see that person here in the courtroom today?
I do.
Can you please point to him and identify him by a piece of clothing he's wearing?
Black hoodie.
And Your Honor, may the record reflect the witness has identified the defendant in open court. Okay. So after you left to go speak to your manager, what were you doing?
I stayed at the table, and the Hispanic male had asked me to clean a spot on the table, which I did.
Okay. And after you take care of cleaning the table, what happened next?
The Hispanic got up to use the restroom and went to use the restroom, so I had walked away from the table, and I was pacing back and forth from the kitchen area to the front area, glancing over at the manager and the male speaking.
Why were you pacing?
I was nervous of the situation. I had already figured what was gonna go down.
What were you nervous about, Everly?
I was nervous about that this was my first day of serving a section, and something had already went wrong with customers, so I was just very nervous about what was gonna happen next and what it meant for me. Like what was gonna happen to me and what was just gonna happen next. I was just very anxious about the situation I was in already.
And while you're pacing, what happened after that?
The Hispanic male walked out of the restroom and asked to give me a hug, and I refused and stepped back, and he like not drew, but he like dropped his weight on top, like tried to drop his weight on top of me to where I refused again.
And what did you do after that?
I went back to the table and asked if they would like to order anything to eat or any soft drinks.
After you asked for their order, did they order anything?
No.
Were you also waiting other tables during this time?
Yes.
And so what happened after that?
After that, my vision, it does become a little unclear, but I do know that I did check on my table 31 and my table 40 who were watching everything happen, just making sure they were doing all right, and kind of just like I said, still glancing over, just making sure the situation wasn't going to escalate or trying to at least.
And where was the defendant during all of this time?
Speaking with the manager.
All right, I'm sorry to interrupt everyone, just give me a moment. Can I see the state of defense, please? All right, so we are back on the record. And state.
And Everly, what was the defendant doing during all this time?
The defendant was arguing back and forth with my manager.
Could you hear what he was saying?
Not clearly, no.
Do you have any idea of what was taking place in that conversation?
To me, it seemed like he was asking.
You know,
just
I'm
one second.
gonna object. She just sat there and said she didn't hear what was being spoken.
All right, that'll be sustained. The witness, whenever there's an objection made, either if it's an objection by the state or the defense, just make sure you stop talking at that point, because I'll have to make a ruling on what their objection is, and then I'll let you know if it's okay for you to answer. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So that objection will be sustained. State?
Based on your prior conversation with the defendant, what was he going to talk to your manager about?
Why we wouldn't serve him alcoholic beverages.
And at some point during all of this, did the three males leave Hooters?
Yes,
And do you know why they left?
because they were asked to leave by management,
Why were they asked to leave?
because the tall male pulled out a knife.
And did you see him pull out a knife?
No,
Which of the three males pulled out the knife?
the tall person.
And do you see him in the courtroom today?
Yes,
Were they asked to leave before he pulled out the knife?
yes, they actually were,
And what were they originally asked to leave for?
because he was becoming a bit aggressive with my manager.
And again, I believe, who is he?
The tall, dark man was becoming aggressive with my manager.
Okay, and that's the defendant present here in the courtroom today?
Yes.
Who all was out there when the defendant pulled out the knife?
It was me, my manager, female workers, customers. It was pretty much the two cooks. Well, I'm sorry if I may backtrack on that. Two cooks were not out when he had pulled out the knife in the first place. I do apologize. So the people who were there when he had the knife out in the first place was just me, my manager, female workers who were also working the same shift as me, and customers.
Who's your manager?
Kenny, I don't know her last name.
And did you ever see the knife?
Yes, I did.
And what did the knife look like?
I didn't see the handle part of it. I just saw the blade, and it was a silver blade. From what I can see, it was a bit hidden. His hand was gripping the grip part, so I wasn't able to see that color of that or how it looked.
About how big was the knife?
It wasn't too big. It was maybe small to medium, more on the medium side, but nothing crazy.
What, compared to a machete or a pocket knife?
Bigger than a pocket knife, but it would be compared to similar pocket knife, but like I said, bigger than a pocket knife.
And what happened after he pulled out the knife?
I can't, I know for sure I got very, very anxious and nervous, so I did kind of just fall into like kind of just an anxious attack, a small anxious attack to where I was just staring at the knife, I was just staring at the blade, and he ended up being escorted out by two of the cooks.
Did you see anything or do you remember anything after that?
No.
We'll pass the witness time.
Defense.
If I may inquire, thank you, Judge. Is it Miss or Mrs. Rodriguez?
Miss Rodriguez.
Miss Rodriguez, hi, I'm Robert Porter. I'm gonna ask you a few questions. I'm not using my microphone because I'm pretty loud.
Okay.
So don't take that as me being mean.
Okay. I understand.
If you don't understand a question, just say, I don't understand your question. Can you clarify that?
Okay, perfect.
How busy was that restaurant that day?
I would say slow to medium, busy, nothing crazy.
And that restaurant had loud music playing.
Yes.
People coming in and out.
Yes.
That restaurant is in the shopping mall down there on the Riverwalk?
Yes.
Okay. So you had a lot of traffic coming in and out. Now, you had mentioned to the state that they walked in with a beverage, but the fact of the matter is only one of the patrons, one of the three gentlemen walked in with a beer, right?
Yes.
Okay, so not all three of them.
No, sir.
And that wasn't Mr. Curry, was
I don't recall.
it? Okay. So the issue is, and you stated, I want to make sure we're clear on this,
Okay.
that it said the manager asked him to leave because he had pulled out a knife.
Yes.
That's not true, right?
Not true. You are
Okay.
correct.
The reason they were asked to leave is nothing of what Mr. Curry had done.
No, that's false.
Well, let's walk through that then.
Okay.
Isn't it true that it was the Hispanic gentleman that was being obnoxious with?
It was both they were both the reasons why they were escorted out, not just the Hispanic.
Okay, well, did you not talk to an officer Bordelame that day?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And he asked you, tell me what happened.
Okay.
Okay,
Yes.
and you did tell him what had happened, right?
Mhm.
You never told him that Mr. Curry was being obnoxious to you. What you told him was that the Hispanic gentleman was rubbing on you inappropriately, he was asking you to sit on the lap, and that's when you finally went and asked the manager, this is not right.
No, that is not true. So you are correct about the first part. I did, my manager was well aware of what was happening because she did call the Hispanic gentleman out on it. She was already asking them to leave because of the tall, dark male, because he was being aggressive with her. And that is when the Hispanic gets up from table 30 and he's walking, and my manager had asked him, are you asking, are you?
Judge, this is non-responsive.
Sustained.
Listen, the issue with Mr. Curry, with your manager, was about why was he not being served alcohol? And nothing to do with any physical altercations with you.
No.
Correct?
Correct.
Okay, and that's what I'm trying to establish here.
Okay.
And that y'all felt that they had already been drinking too much, that they were not going to be served alcohol. Right?
No, it's because they walked in with alcohol.
Okay. Okay, so they weren't intoxicated.
We don't know if they were intoxicated. We could have made a guess or assumed, but we don't know the fact if they were intoxicated or not.
Okay, so had they not walked at the Hispanic gentleman not walked in with beer, you would have served them alcoholic beverages.
I don't know if that is for my manager to determine. I go based off of what she tells me to do, especially since I was very new, so I was nowhere in a position to make that decision.
Okay, so that kind of shocked me. So that was your very first day being waitress there?
That was not my very first day. It was my first day of having my own section, so I was out of training.
Oh, okay, okay. So you were on high nerves.
Very
much. You wanted everything to go right.
Yes.
It's like my wife when we were in college. She worked at Chili's and she was always scared she was gonna drop plates on customers, and it happened. You didn't want that to happen. So you were just nervous that day to begin with.
Okay.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So how close, when you said Mr. Curry, did he walk out of the restaurant on his own, or was he physically escorted out of the restaurant?
He was physically escorted out.
Okay, who physically escorted him out of the restaurant?
I'm so sorry if I may go back on that, because I said physically, and that would mean someone was on his hands. He was walked out by 2 cooks. They never touched him from what I saw, and like I said, anything after that I did not see, but from last place I saw is that he was escorted out, walked next to by 2 cooks. They did not physically touch him.
Now, was one cook on one side, the other cook on the other side?
I don't recall, I'm sorry.
Okay. So was one cook in front of him and one cook in back of him?
I don't recall. I could tell you at the most is that one cook was on my right side, his right side. That's all I saw.
Okay, and you weren't close to them at that time?
No, I was not.
You were away at that time, because the tables are around the corner, and then you have the front door over there, right?
Yeah, so he was not escorted out of the front door. It was the side door.
Okay.
By the merch.
Okay, so but you weren't close.
No, I was not.
And so you never heard Mr. Curry making any threats to the cooks that were exiting the?
No, I did not.
And when you said you saw the knife, you never saw Mr. Curry thrashing the knife at them?
No, I did not.
You never saw him hold up the knife at them?
No, I did not.
You never saw Mr. Curry assault them in any way?
No, and I'm sorry if I may ask, are we talking about the 2 gentlemen there?
No,
The cooks?
Mr. Curry.
Yes.
You never, in the 2 cooks, you never saw him do any of that stuff, right?
No, I did not.
Okay, you never saw the 2 cooks jump back from Mr. Curry?
No.
Okay, and so from your distance, if I may stand it, from your distance, the knife that you say you saw, where did it come from?
I did not see him physically pull it out. By the time I looked at Mr. Curry, the knife was already out and it was being held to the side with a closed tight fist.
Down to the side like this?
I would say his arm was a bit more lifted and away from his, so
So he's out?
more like this.
Okay.
I'm sorry, if I may.
Sure.
kind of just like this.
I'm
Kind of
sorry,
like
the
we're-
court is unable to see.
Okay, so what the witness is testifying to is his elbow was crooked,
Yes.
for lack of a better term, what about it?
I wouldn't say to a full degree, maybe just a slight crook. Yeah, very slight crook and more away from the waist area. But yes, you have the idea. of
Okay,
how
and
they looked.
that knife that you noticed, the cooks were already out of the kitchen at that time.
No, when I had first noticed it, the cooks were not there. They did not see that. They had came out very, very, very shortly. I would say within seconds of when the knife first came out.
But at that time, Mr. Curry was already leaving.
No, he was standing, holding it, and then
Standing where?
between table 50 and the two front doors that were locked.
So he's just standing there and decides to pull out a knife?
Well, he was yelling. And he was yelling at my manager.
But your manager was away from him.
No, she was not. She was near table 51. He was right next to table 50, and I was near table 42.
Okay, so how far away was your manager from Mr. Curry?
Not very far. Table 50, 51 are about a couple of feet apart.
Okay, and how far away from Mr. Curry were you?
I would say about just 1 or 2 more feet past my manager. So I was at table 42, which is right next to table 52 or 50. I was at next to table 42, which is near 51.
Okay. Well, okay,
I'm sorry about that.
and I'm speaking really quick, and I can see Brenda giving me the look. So I'll kind of slow down. And if you would, please, understand this. None of us know the seating arrangement of Hooters. So when you mentioned table 51, 52, what I'm asking for is 10 feet away.
Okay.
20 feet away.
Of course.
That kind of thing. It'll make things a little easier for all of us to understand.
Yes, sir. I understand.
Okay. So it's your testimony that he displayed the knife and threatened your manager?
I did not hear him threaten my manager. Again, I was in a very anxious, small panic attack. So I tend to lose hearing very quickly when I become very anxious. So I did not hear him threaten my manager.
Okay.
I saw the knife out and that's all I saw.
Okay, so at that time then, once you said the knife was out, you didn't hear any threats. There was no furtive gestures or movements of Mr. Curry to cut anybody, right?
Not that I know of, no.
Right, there was no furtive gestures of him to slash anybody or do anything of such that nature. Now, where Mr. Curry was standing at that point in time, where did the cooks come from?
They came from in front of us. So Mr. Curry was facing towards the direction where the cooks came. So they came from the kitchen. That was just, I really don't know how to describe it too well. They came just from the front of the direction, in front of Mr. Curry. They were coming like where he was able to see.
And they were coming.
Yeah, they were coming like this. They were walking this way because that's where the kitchen is over here. So they were walking this way towards us. They were walking very calmly.
Who told the cooks to go outside?
Gwen, and that is one of our waitresses. She was the server there at the time.
Okay, so Gwen had, to the best of your knowledge, you weren't part of that conversation.
No, I was not part of that conversation.
But in any event, the cooks came out of the kitchen aggressively toward Mr. Curry.
Well,
there's a scene going on, right?
Yeah.
Okay. They took control of the situation, and according to your own testimony at that time, they escorted Mr. Curry off the premises.
Yes.
And to be clear, Mr. Curry never touched you at all, right?
No, he did not.
I'll ask what you know.
State?
Beverly, did you interact with the defendant that day?
I did.
And did you have an issue with the defendant on that day?
Yes, I did.
What was your issue?
That he was upset with me because I wouldn't serve him alcohol.
And then after that happened, did you have any more interaction with him, any more conversation?
Conversation with him, no. The second interaction with me when he had pulled out the knife after yelling.
Okay, and then I want to clear up, you told defense counsel that he was physically escorted. And then you corrected and said he was not, the cooks did not have his hands on him. So what do you mean he was physically escorted out?
If I can, I would like to withdraw that just because he was not physically escorted at all. From what I saw, the last place I left off in this whole situation was I did not see him physically escorted out. He was just, they walked near him and escorted him out. So they did not touch him.
And then the defense counsel asked you about the cooks coming out and your response was they were walking calmly. After that, defense counsel changed that and said they were walking aggressively towards the defendant.
They were not walking aggressively. They were walking calmly because they were confused about the situation.
Nothing further.
Can you redirect? I'm sorry, recross.
When you say they were confused about the situation, that's just your speculation because you didn't know what they were thinking.
Yes, but they, if I may go past the whole situation itself, after everything had happened, it was confirmed that, and from me seeing them walk to him, I did not at any point see them walk aggressively to Mr. Curry at any point.
And you did see Mr. Curry leaving the restaurant?
Yes, I did.
At their direction?
Yes, I did.
There was no issues between the three?
Did not seem to be at the moment, other than that he needed to leave. Other than that, there did not seem to be any other issues.
Nothing further.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, is this witness excused or subject for recall?
Subject to recall.
All right, if you can make sure that the witness is available, please.
Yes, Judge.
All right, call your next witness. You may sit down.
Thank you.
The state calls Kenny Ramirez.
All right, if you can raise your right hand for me, please. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth so help you God? Yes. All right, if you could take a seat, lower your hand, and if you could state your name for the record, please.
Kenny Ramirez.
All right, state.
Thank you, Judge. How are you currently employed?
I'm still working for Hooters.
How long have you worked for Hooters?
A little over 4 years.
What's your position with Hooters?
Front of house management
What location do you currently work at?
at the 10151 in England.
How long have you been there?
I just transferred there in January.
Back in July of 2021, which location were you working at?
The one on Riverwalk.
And is that location, I guess, here in Bear County?
Yes, sir.
Do you recall that you were working on July 12th of 2021?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember an incident happening at your location?
Yes, sir.
I guess, how many individuals initially were involved with the whole situation?
It started with the gentleman, his 3 friends, Everly, and myself.
Okay, and how did the 3 gentlemen first come to your attention?
Because one of the girls had come to tell me that they had come in with alcohol. One of the friends did have a beverage. I asked him to leave it out of the building. He could go finish it and then come back in. That was how they first came to my attention.
Okay. And so is it against, I guess, the rules of Hooters to come in
Yes,
with
sir.
alcohol?
They can purchase alcohol inside the building, but they cannot bring in outside alcohol into the building.
Which male came in with alcohol? If you remember.
It was the Hispanic male, and then later on, I discovered that it was a gentleman that was in question.
And so you mentioned Beverly, was she assigned to their table?
Yes, sir, she was.
What was your next interaction with the group of males?
My next interaction was the Hispanic gentleman that initially accosted Everly had gone to the restroom. I had gone to the front just to keep an eye on the situation.
And let me.
Yes, sir.
Why were you keeping an eye on the situation?
Because of the fact that the Hispanic male had already made some inappropriate comments to Everly. Due to that and the fact that they had already come in with alcohol, it was just one of the situations that we're trained to keep an eye on.
And so there was a Hispanic male, and what ethnicity or race were the two other males?
African American.
I guess, can you describe the two other males? Were they the same height or different?
No, sir. The other African American was probably about 5'7", 5'8". On the thin side was wearing camouflage shorts and a tank top. The Hispanic male was roughly the same height. I'd say, I couldn't put an exact weight, but he was a little bit heavier than the other African American. And then the gentleman that we're here for was definitely taller than them by almost a full foot.
And what type of hair did he have?
He had dreads.
And that gentleman, the one that was taller than the other two, was he present here in the courtroom?
Yes, sir, he is.
Could you identify him by an article of clothing?
The one that he's wearing right now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir, he's wearing a black, looks like a hoodie.
Okay, let the record reflect that the witness has identified the defendant. And so you said you were keeping an eye on that table. What's the next thing that you remember happening that day?
The next thing that happened is the gentleman in question came up and wanted to know why we would not serve them alcohol.
And is that the defendant who came up to you?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay. What did you tell him?
I told him that due to the fact that when they came in, they were already in violation. The fact that he was so adamant about me not serving him alcohol was one of the signs that we were trying to look out for, as somebody has already consumed too much. And that I did not feel comfortable serving him or his friends any alcohol, but that we would be more than happy to serve them any food or non-alcoholic beverages that they wanted.
How did he accept, I guess, the news that you would not be serving him alcohol?
He debated with me for probably about 5 minutes or so, kept asking why, can I make an exception? And I told him that, no, this is not a democracy. That in that building, my word was final. I'm looking out for the safety of all of my guests and my staff, and I would not serve him alcohol under any circumstances.
So how did that conversation end?
He ended up walking away. We were sitting at that point in time at what would be table 51. He got up and moved to booth 30, which is where they were originally sat.
Okay, so he went back to join his two other friends?
Yes, sir, he did.
Did you have any other issues with them after that?
Yes, sir. The very next issue was, at this point in time, they seemed to be calmed down. I went back up into the office, which is located upstairs on the 2nd floor of our building. I was doing some paperwork because it wasn't very busy at the time. One of the girls, I cannot tell you who, I just heard Miss Kimmy, Miss Kimmy. He grabbed Everly by the pouch and tried to force Everly to stay on his lap.
Do you know which male she was referring to?
The Hispanic gentleman.
Okay. And so when you heard that, what did you do?
I ran downstairs. I walked over to the table. I started explaining to all 3 of the guys why at this point in time, not only did I feel comfortable not serving them alcohol, but that at this point we were going to cut off service entirely. That they were not welcome in the building. They were not going to be allowed to order anything food-wise, alcoholic-wise, non-alcoholic-wise.
Okay, and how did they take that news?
The Hispanic gentleman kept saying, I can buy her, how much do you want for her? I can afford her, and I told him, I said, we are not running a brothel. I am not a madam, these girls are here to serve wings and beer. There's no price that you can put on her, and I need you to leave.
Did they get up and leave?
The other 2 gentlemen did get up and leave, the defendant did not.
What was he doing?
He was sitting on the left-hand side of the booth, telling me that he was not going to leave, and then he asked me why did he have to leave.
Did you respond to him?
Yes, I did.
At some point, I guess about how long did he refuse to get up and leave?
I'd say at that point, it might have just been 3 or 4 minutes.
Did he eventually get up and leave?
Not before the incident, no, sir.
Okay, did he, I guess, at least eventually stand up from the booth?
Yes, sir. He stood up from the booth. When he was sitting in the booth, what he said was, "I'm not leaving. I'm going to stand my ground." And I told him that this is not Florida. He is not going to stand his ground, that I need him to get up and leave.
At that point, who all was, I guess, around or involved in the situation?
It was 2 other guests that were sitting at a high table next to the booth. I do not have their names. And then the other 2 gentlemen that came in with him were gone. He was the only one that was sitting there.
Or any of the other waitresses or servers or anyone involved?
Yes, at this point, they were kind of gathered and watching to see what was going to happen.
And so he said he was gonna stand his ground. What was the next thing that happened?
The next thing that happened, I told him that if he wanted to stand his ground, that was fine. But he had, from the time that I made it from that booth over to the host to stand to grab the phone to call 911 to decide what it is that he wanted to do.
And so when you went to call 911, or when you told him that you were gonna call 911, how did he respond to that?
He stood up in the middle of the restaurant. He started cursing me out. He insisted that he was not going to leave, that I was welcome to call 911. He didn't care. He proceeded to call me in FAB. And some other choice words.
So did you end up calling 911?
I did.
And while you were on the phone with 911, were you relaying to them everything that was happening as it was happening?
Yes, sir, I was.
Your Honor, may I have a question, witness?
Yes.
And I'm showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 1. It's the 911 call. Do you recall listening to that in my office?
Yes, I do.
And after listening to it, is it a fair and accurate depiction? I guess, is it fair and accurate?
Yes, sir.
Of the 911 call that you made that day?
Yes, sir.
Has there been any changes or anything to it?
No, sir.
Your Honor, at this time, would offer State's Exhibit 1.
I'm an objection. She's not the proper authenticated witness for this.
All right, that'll be overruled. State's Exhibit number 1 is admitted into evidence.
Your Honor, may I please?
Yes.
That we're trying to accomplish. Police. I work at the Hooters down here on Riverwalk location. I had some gentlemen that were trying to accost one of my females. I asked them to leave the building. The gentleman does not want to leave the building. Hold on one moment, I'm so sorry. Are you leaving? Because I need to tell this gentleman to something to come tonight. Because I literally got my phone. So are you leaving or are you supposed to stay here? All right, he decided that he would like to cooperate and leave.
Okay, well, if you do need us, just call us back.
All right, thank you so much, will do.
Okay, so is that the end of your first call to 911?
Yes, sir.
And I believe we could hear in the video the defendant saying, "I'm leaving, I'm leaving."
Yes, sir.
Did he leave after you hung up the phone?
No, sir.
What did he do?
Immediately after I hung up the phone, he turned back towards me. At that point, he was facing the door as though he was going to leave. He turned back towards me and said, "No, I'm not leaving." And I was like, "Okay." Like, I haven't even put the phone down. I will call 911 back. And he started with the cursing and the yelling again.
Okay, and so did you end up calling 911 again?
I did.
At some point during your conversation with 911 dispatch, did the, I guess, situation escalate?
Yes, sir, did.
How did that happen?
Well, it started with when he decided not to leave and he was yelling. A couple of my servers, I cannot tell you who, because I was on the phone and keeping an eye on him. They started to go towards the back. They met with Brandon and Daniel that were coming towards the front. They had heard all of the yelling that was going on. They walked past.
I'm gonna judge speculation.
Same.
And Kimmy, do you remember Brandon and Daniel's last name?
Gonzalez, I believe.
Okay, and so you said Brandon and Daniel, they started walking to the front?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what happened?
They opened the doors and asked the gentleman to leave.
When they asked him to leave, did they make any threatening comments or have any weapons on them?
No, sir, they did not.
Did they, I guess, in your opinion, say it in an aggressive manner, or what was their demeanor like?
Protective. What they said was, hey, man,
Objection calls for a
Sustained.
What was the objection? I'm sorry, Judge.
It calls for a hearsay.
So you said that they asked him to leave.
yes, sir.
Did he leave?
No, sir.
When he refused to leave, what was the next thing that you remember happening?
I remember Desiree saying he has a knife.
Objection, Judge, hearsay.
Sustained.
While all of this was going on, I guess, what was the emotional state of everyone?
Objection, speculation.
It was fear. It was worry. It was confusion.
And so, was Desiree in that emotional state?
Yes.
Objection, speculation.
Based,
Overruled.
and so what did Desiree say at the time?
Miss Kimmy, he has a knife.
Objection,
That'll be
hearsay.
sustained.
And Judge, these answers are coming out pretty quick. And I know this is a bench trial.
Yes, it's a bench trial. I can disregard the court is disregarding the
Okay,
witness's last
thank you,
answer.
Judge. Thank you.
Sure.
So at some point, you were made aware that he had a knife in his hand.
Yes, sir.
Did you see the knife?
Objection, leading, Judge.
Sustained.
Okay, at some point, were you made aware that he had a knife in his hand?
Judge?
Sustained.
Did you see a knife in his hand?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you see the knife in his hand prior to someone telling you that?
No, sir.
When you saw the knife in his hand, what was your reaction?
I told the dispatch on 911 and he has a knife.
Okay. What was he saying while he had the knife?
He was asking.
Judge, I'm gonna object to hearsay.
Early, it's what was your client saying?
I know, but unless it's an admission, it's still hearsay.
All right, that'll be overruled.
He was asking the guys, what do you want to do? Are you about it? Do you want to step outside? What do you want to do? Do you want to get down?
Okay. Did he make any other statements to them?
Yes, sir, he did.
What else did he say?
At the point in time where he had the knife up and pointed towards him, he told them that he would shake them, he would stab them if they were really about it.
What did the knife look like?
It was, I could not tell you what the handle looked like. His hand was wrapped around it. It was against his right-hand side. I saw the blade. Blade might have been a 4-incher. Blade had an kind of an unusual shape where it didn't go to a straight point. It kind of was down and then had a weird angle at the end of it.
Was it similar, I guess the blade at least similar to a box cutter?
I would say maybe something along those lines, yes.
Okay. And when he had it in his hand, what direction was the blade pointed?
Initially, when he was inside the restaurant with the blade, it was down against his leg. His arm was fully down by his side. And then when he stepped outside of the restaurant and faced the gentleman, at that point, his arm was up and the knife was facing my staff and myself.
Okay. So was he pointing the knife, when you say your staff, I guess who was he pointing the knife at?
I know that Daniel and Brandon were outside. There were 2 other servers. I believe one of them was Gabrielle. I could not tell you who the other server was.
Could you tell who he was directing his comments, his threats to?
At the moment, it was directed towards Brandon and Daniel. And the girls were on either side of them. So I cannot say if it was just to the 2 gentlemen or if it was the 4 of them in total. But at that point, he was talking to Brandon and Daniel with the knife pointed at them.
And I think we talked about this, but you said you made another call to 911 or to 911 dispatch.
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I'm gonna play that for the court.
All right, is that contained on State's Exhibit number 1?
Yes.
Yes.
Judge, I'm going to reiterate my objection as to that 911.
All right, that'll be overruled.
Yeah, me too. I ain't get a motherfucking thing.
At this point, I definitely need to leave. The gentleman that said that he was gonna leave is in here cursing, and he's saying that he is getting ready to start something in my establishment.
Is this at the Hooters now?
Yes, sir, this is the Hooters on 849 East Commerce Street.
What's he wearing? What color shirt pants?
He is wearing a New York shirt, and it's kind of a button down. It's like one of those old baseball shirts. He's wearing a gray tank top, a gold chain, black pants, brown worn belt, white worn Nike Air Force Ones. He's about 6'5" with small dreads and is at 6'8". I'm sorry, he's 6'6". He wants to make sure that y'all arrest the right person. 6'6", and he's also drinking a Budweiser in my establishment. I need you to take that out.
So you don't see a Budweiser here?
No, we do, but you didn't buy it here. Yes, sir.
Black, white, Hispanic, but how old is he?
He's black and he's probably about 28 to 29 years old.
What is your name is?
Yeah, my name is Kimmy, Kimme, last name is Ramirez with a Z. Sir, he is armed right now, and he's threatening to pull up a knife on my staff. He has a knife in his hand right now. Yes. Please, I need him out here now. Right now. I'll be inside. I'm sorry. I need everybody, please. Get inside. Yes, sir. He came in intoxicated, and the reason why he's upset is we refused to serve him because he was intoxicated.
She'll be there in just a moment, okay, then?
All right, he is actually right now walking up the stairs from the river level up to East Commerce Street. So he's headed towards the Margaritaville.
He went up.
Okay, he's actually walking down river level. He did not go up there. And he's walking with another gentleman who is wearing gray cargo shorts, carrying a military backpack, wearing a black t-shirt and black shoes. And then he's with a Hispanic guy who's wearing shorts and a red white beater tank top.
Black t-shirt and camo shorts and the black, white, Hispanic?
He's black, and then the other guy wearing the red shirt is Hispanic.
Going towards Margaritaville that way?
Like, yes, but they're actually staying on river level. There is a mall security guy that just kind of saw whatever happened, and he's walking down in that direction.
He didn't pull out the knife, correct?
He pulled out the knife inside the restaurant and threatened to stab 2 of my staff members.
Nobody got cut, right, man?
No, sir, nobody got hurt.
They're right there, already there, so they'll be down there just a moment, okay?
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Bye.
Kimmy, did Daniel or Brandon or any of the staff make any threats towards the defendant?
No, sir.
At some point, I guess, how did the situation end?
It ended with me telling all of them to get inside. They finally all moved inside. I was left outside in front of our restaurant on the phone with dispatch, giving them directions as to what direction that he was headed.
Do you know if he was caught that day?
Yes, he was.
Did they have you identify him that day?
Yes, they did.
When you went to identify him, was he wearing the same clothes that you saw him in earlier?
No, sir, he had changed out of the New York overshirt into a different shirt.
But were you sure that it was still the same guy?
Absolutely.
Aaron, we'll pass the witness.
All right, defense.
Thank you, Your Honor. Let's begin with, he was in the booth by himself, I guess when everything really started to get heated, is that right?
Yes, sir, his friends had already left.
Okay, and then you told him, after he said, I'm gonna stand my ground, that he has until you call 911 to make that decision.
Yes, sir.
So you didn't call 911 from that booth, right?
I did not have a phone on me at that time. No, sir.
Okay, so you had to walk how far to go get the phone?
Maybe 15, 20 feet. There's only 3 booths between the front door and the booth being sat at. There's 50, there's 40, there's 30. Right directly in front of that door is the host stand and it had a phone.
Okay, so you made the 911 call from the host stand, right?
Yes, sir.
So when we're listening to that 911 call, the speaking, you're at the host stand and he's over there at the booth there.
No, sir, at that point, he was not at the booth. He was up in the middle of the restaurant screaming and cursing.
Okay, but you weren't next to him.
I was maybe about 4 or 5 feet away from him.
Okay, so when the state asked you if the other people had made any threats, you unequivocally said no.
At
Correct.
that point, it was myself by the host stand, him in the front, no other staff help was involved during the first call.
Now, in that restaurant at the time too, there was loud music playing, right?
Yes, sir.
And there's people coming and going, right?
No, it was kind of a slow day. No one else had really come in after that.
So you're saying there was nobody in the restaurant? Is that
No,
what you're telling me?
there were other people in the restaurant, but it was a slow day.
Right.
So it wasn't as busy with the constant in and out as there normally would be, say, maybe like on a Friday or a Saturday.
Okay. And well, and you spoke with numerous police officers that day, right?
Yes, sir. I want to say it may have been about 4.
Okay, and in fact, you even spoke to a detective by phone, a detective, Gina Dillon. You remember that?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay, and she had been the lead detective that investigates this whole incident, right?
I suppose, yes, sir.
And she called you up about this incident, right?
Yes, sir.
But before that, you actually had talked to Officer Angela Jimenez that day, correct?
I do not know her name, but I did speak with a female officer.
Oh, and each one of those officers asked you, tell us what happened, right?
Yes, sir.
And you told them that version of events, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How come you never told any of those officers that day or the detective the next day that he was holding the knife up, pointing it at your staff?
I actually did tell her that he had it at waist level,
Well,
pointing it
actually,
at my staff.
you told Angela Jimenez.
Your Honor, I'm gonna object to hearsay and improper.
Well,
Yes, to give her an opportunity to view her statement before we can teach her.
Well, I can ask her if she remembers telling her that.
All right, ask your question, please.
Okay. Do you remember telling Officer Angela Jimenez that he had the knife out in his right hand in a low ready position, but did not raise his hand up and point the knife at anyone?
That was because he never had it above his head, the way you said it. It was at his waist, cocked at an angle.
But those were your words, not mine.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and he did not point the knife at anyone.
It depends on your, I guess, definition of pointing, because he did have it at his waist, pointed in their direction. It went from down by his side to up cocked, pointing at their direction. It was not above his waist.
Okay, well, I'm just using the modern definition of language, and when you say he did not point the knife at anyone, I take it as he did not point the knife at anyone, exactly what you said.
He did not have his arm extended, pointed. He did have his arm at his waist cocked with the knife.
Okay, so he never extended it at anyone. He
No,
never
sir.
made any.
He never made a stabbing motion, no, sir.
He never, excuse me. Excuse me. He never made any thrashing motion standing by.
No, sir.
Okay, so when you're telling the court and the state at that point in time that he's holding it up and all that was just kind of hyperbole.
No, sir. I don't consider it hyperbole.
Well, which one was it? Was he either holding it out, pointing at people, or according to you, the day of the incident, that he did not point the knife at anyone?
When the gentleman has the knife by his leg with his arm fully extended down inside the restaurant, and then he goes out and that arm is now cocked with the knife blade pointing towards my staff, to me, that is pointing it at a staff. It doesn't mean that it has to be extended at a certain point, but it went from down, pointing facing the ground, to up and pointing facing at my staff.
But he was never pointing a knife at you.
I would say in everything that happened, no, he never directly went like this and pointed it to me like this. But in his actions, when he was swinging back and forth between the staff and then cursing at me, his arm stayed at that angle with the knife up and out instead of down towards the ground.
Now, you talked to about five officers that day?
Could be 4 or 5, yes, sir.
You gave the versions of events to those officers, right?
Yes, sir.
And all those officers have body cameras?
I'm
right?
sure they do.
Okay. And Gina Dillon, when you talked to her, you explained it to her the same way you had explained it to Officer Jimenez, is that right?
To the best of my knowledge, yes, sir.
Now, you mentioned you keep calling them your staff, right?
Yes, sir.
So how many of the female staff were there when you're saying he had the knife out?
Are you talking about in the entire building or that were just outside the front doors when it happened?
Well, you're the one telling us the story, so you're the one that's saying who was threatened. So you tell me.
I
who
just
was
want to
all
make
the
sure
threat-
that I have the question correct.
Stop, everyone. So, Brenna is an excellent court reporter. She can only take down one person at a time. So if we can ask a question, let the witness answer it. And to the witness, I know that sometimes people, if this is your first time testifying, there are some instructions I should give you. When one of the attorneys stands up, if you're answering a question or if a question has been asked, that usually means that they have an objection that I'm going to have to rule on. So when you see any of the attorneys stand up or object, if you could just stop talking, then I can make my ruling.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So this is what we're going to do. Defense, if you would re-ask your question and then state if you could re-urge your objection.
I don't remember the question.
It's okay. Then you can ask the next question, or either you can, Brenda can show off her court reporting skills, which are excellent.
I think I know where I was going with this, Judge. Between you and I'm not, okay. So you're standing at the hostess table at this time.
During the first or the second call?
Well, during the first call, let's just push that aside because there's no knife, according to you, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let's get down to where you keep calling the incident. The
Yes,
knife.
sir.
So you're at the hostess table.
During the second incident, no, sir, I was not at the hostess table. I was actually right outside the front doors.
Okay, so this whole incident took place outside?
Not the entire incident, it started indoors. The gentleman, Daniel and Brandon, opened the doors as they were asking the defendant to leave. At that point, when I was still on the phone, when he had the knife cocked at them, it was outside the restaurant within 2 or 3 feet of the front doors, which is why you can hear me on the phone telling everyone to get back inside.
Okay, so Brandon, it was Brandon and Daniel. There's who we've been referring to as the cooks.
Yes, sir.
They came from the kitchen.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and so they would, when they came out of the kitchen, it's safe to say they didn't know what was going on because they were in the kitchen.
Yes, sir.
So when they came out, they came toward the person who you felt was being loud and obnoxious.
Yes, sir.
And so if he is facing these two guys coming at him, right?
Mhm.
Okay, now, from that perspective, where is the door that he exits from?
It was the two gentlemen were coming from the kitchen, which would have been here. It's the hallway. The gentleman was standing right here. At this point, we're still indoors. I'm at the hostess stand. They walked around side him on either side, went to both doors. There were double doors.
Okay, so the question was, where is the door?
The door at this point was behind the defendant,
About how far?
maybe about 2 feet.
Okay, so he's close to the door at that point.
Yes, sir, he is.
So all this time that you said he had a knife out, he was actually backpedaling out, or what was he doing?
He was, during the first phone call towards the end of it, that's when he said, yes, he was going to leave. So he was near those doors. He was within that 2 feet of the front doors. As soon as I hung up is when he decided that he was not going to leave. He was still in the same spot. So he was still about 1.5 feet, 2 feet from the front doors.
Okay, so this whole conversation that we hear on the second 911 call is he's standing about 2 feet from the doors.
He was standing, it began with him on the inside, standing about 2 feet from the front doors. Daniel and Brandon had the doors open for him and were telling him, hey, man, you're in here disrespecting. I'm sorry.
Object to hearsay.
Sustain.
Okay, just, all I'm asking is, listen to the question.
I hear you.
Okay, so the door's behind him. Brandon and Daniel approached him.
They approached the doors behind him, but they did have to walk in his direction.
Okay,
To get to the doors behind him.
so they approached him.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and so as he's standing there, and let's just pretend these, for the record, the gates of the courtroom, the doors, is about 2 feet here. They're coming at him.
He was a little bit further in front of the doors than that.
So about 4 feet.
I guess so, yes, sir.
Oh, so to get to the doors, now we have one guy on his right side, one guy on his left side.
Yes, sir.
Okay, where were the other girls?
They were near the left side of the front door. They were by booth number 50 at that point in time.
So when you say the left side of the front door, if I'm looking into the restaurant, they were on my left or?
They would be on your right, my left facing the front doors.
Okay, so the two cooks, the one that came here, had to go around the girls or through the girls to get to the door? How'd that work?
They would have gone in between the girls and the gentleman to get through that front door.
Okay. And so at this time is when all the commotion is going on, when you're yelling, he's got a knife, he's got a knife, he's got a knife, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Actually, if I may, at that point, when they were opening the doors, it was a lot of commotion going on. I can't say if they were behind him on the side or if the doors were open at that point. From my recollection, is the doors were open. The girls were over there. Another staff member, Desiree, was coming around and kind of looking, and she was hostessing at the time. And she said, Miss Kennedy.
Judge, I know that, here's that. And so,
Just one moment. All right, that'll be sustained as far as what the witness stated, so it'll be sustained as to hearsay.
Yes, ma'am.
so according to your testimony, as he's standing here, they walk around him and then they nicely say, sir, one opens one door and the other opens the other door. Sir, you have to leave.
I wouldn't say it was like that, no.
Well, how was it? Or did you say, you gotta go? Or it wasn't a nice little.
No, sir, I never said they were polite about it. What I said was they were saying, hey, man, am I allowed to answer first? I don't want to be disrespectful.
Okay. And in an event, Mr. Curry did leave, right?
Only after threatening the staff and myself with a knife and with
Judge,
being
I'm gonna
on the
object to
phone.
unresponsive.
That'll be overruled.
Okay, so let me ask it again. I know you want to get your story in, but Mr. Curry left.
Objection argumentative.
That'll be sustained.
Mr. Curry left.
Yes, sir, he did leave.
Okay, did any of the cooks physically push Mr. Curry out?
No, sir.
Did any of the girls physically push Mr. Curry out?
No, sir.
Did Mr. Curry ever touch anybody in that restaurant?
No, sir.
And so when you said, you heard him cussing, right?
Yes, sir.
And threatening,
Yes, sir.
right? You don't know who he's talking to.
He was facing in the direction of my staff. He was kind of swiveling.
Okay, so you don't know who he's talking to.
There were 5 of us out there. I'm gonna say he was speaking to everyone that he was swiveling to face
What about
at
the
that
customers?
time.
I'm sorry, but what about all the customers?
Because at this point, we were outside of the restaurant, the guests were inside the restaurant.
Okay, and you're inside the mall, people walking by.
Yes, sir, we're not inside the mall, we are on the mall walk, like right there on the river.
So it's your opinion that everybody that was present at that time, that's who he was threatening?
No, sir, my opinion is everyone that was from the staff of Hooters that was outside at that point was who he was threatening.
So so he never specifically looked at any one person and said the things you're claiming he said?
At this point in time, his eyes were moving back and forth between the 4 of them over there and myself. I was a little bit over by the front doors.
Which were the 4?
The 4 would have been Brandon, Daniel, Gabby, and as I stated, I do not remember the 4th girl. I don't remember who it was.
So you're saying Gabby was threatened?
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, was what?
Gabby was threatened?
To the best of my knowledge, she was one of the 2 girls out there. And in my opinion, yes, because he was pointing to knife, swiveling at all of us were in danger.
But you said he never thrust the knife or did anything with the knife.
He did not thrust it, he just simply had it cocked at his waist with the bottom of the blade or the point of the blade facing outwards instead of facing the ground.
What about Everly? Did he try to do that with her?
No, sir, not to the best of my knowledge.
What specifically, how did he specifically threaten Daniel?
It wasn't specific threats as though he was looking at Daniel saying, hey, I'm going to stab you specifically.
You don't know if he ever said anything to Daniel?
I mean, he did say something to Daniel and Brandon. I was right there on the phone as he was giving his threats.
Okay, so what did he say to Daniel?
I say Daniel because Daniel and Brandon were the 2 males that were
Right.
out there.
No, the question was, what did he say to Daniel?
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay.
Overrule. You're asking what
What
your
Mr.
client said.
Curry, correct, Your Honor.
I'm gonna overrule that objection.
Okay, I can't say if, I guess let me rephrase.
No,
He could have
I'm
been
gonna
saying,
object, Your Honor.
okay.
This is not responsible. My question is simple. What did he say to Daniel?
Okay, what he said at that point in time,
Again,
Was-
listen to the question.
Witness, you can answer the question.
thank you. What he said was, are y'all about it? What do you want to do? I'll shank y'all, I'll stab y'all. And then it was a lot, I cannot elaborate, those stuck out to me because I remember thinking, this is not good. I could not tell you all of the other background noise that was going or anything else that he said, because at that time, I was trying to get my staff in the building when I heard him threaten to stab and shake them. Get inside the building. I was also on the phone with dispatch, trying to relay to the best of my ability everything that was going on. When he said that is when I was very adamant about get in the building. Because now I felt like their lives and our safety was in danger.
What color was the knife?
What color was the knife? I cannot tell you the color of the handle. The blade itself was silver.
But, and tell me about the blade one more time.
It was a silver blade. It may have been, like I said, to me, it looked like it was about a 4-inch blade. I could not see the color of the handle because he had his hand wrapped around it.
And the shape of the blade?
The shape of the blade was kind of at a strange, like it came straight down. But then the actual blade, I believe you asked me if it resembled kind of a box cutter shape.
That was a state's question.
Okay, well, it was something along those lines where it wasn't just a straight double point, but it was a strange edge that was on the tip of the blade.
And earlier you had mentioned that you had told Mr. Curry that he needed to leave the establishment, right?
Yes, sir.
And he did not leave.
He did not leave at that point.
Now, later on that you went, the police actually took you up to street level where they had Mr. Curry in custody. Is that right?
Yes, sir, they did.
And at that point in time, they asked you to identify Mr. Curry. Is that right?
Yes, sir, they did.
And at that point in time, the decision was to be made whether to arrest him for terroristic threat.
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay and relevance.
Sustained.
Did you have any conversations? Oh, did you have any video inside that Hooters?
No, sir, we did not.
Do you ever have any video on that Hooters?
Not during the time that I was employed there, no.
That may have 1 minute, Judge.
All right, and Mr. Porter, before you finish with your cross, I'm going to take up one matter very quickly. It's a plea agreement for Mr. Myrick's question, just so that they can take the defendant back. So just give me a moment. Mr. Myrick? James Myrick.
I'm here, yes.
All right, thank you. We're going to take up your matter.
Okay, I'm ready to start.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your patience. Who's the prosecutor on this, please? Who's the prosecutor? On Mr. Cantu?
It was Joey or Joey Garcia or Mr. Groomer, but either or.
You want me to step in?
Yes, if you could. And I will walk you through what the plea is. Thank you so much. All right, the court is calling 2021 CR 80858 and 2021 CR 8083, State of Texas versus Luke Matthew Cantu. Can I have parties announced for the record for the state?
Marcus Sanders.
For the defense? For the defense.
My name is James Merritt, attorney for Luke Cantu.
And are you Mr. Cantu? If you can unmute for me, please, Mr. Cantu.
Your Honor.
All right, are you Mr. Cantu?
Yes, Your Honor.
We're proceeding by video because of the pandemic. Any objections from the state?
No objection.
Any objections from the defense? James Myrick, do you have any objections to us proceeding by video?
I have no objections.
Mr. Cantu, I'm showing you what's entitled Defendant's Consent to Plea by Video Conference. Did you review that document with your attorney? Did you understand it, and did you electronically sign it?
Yes, Your Honor.
Court will find that the defendant has knowingly and voluntarily consented to appear by video. Mr. Cantu, I'm showing you what's entitled Application for Deferred Adjudication or Community Supervision. Did you review that document with your attorney? Did you understand it, and did you electronically sign it?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Meyer, I'm showing you what's entitled Discovery Acknowledgement. Have you received all the discovery in each of these cause numbers, and did you review that with your client?
Yes, I have.
Court will find that the state is in compliance with discovery. Mr. Cantu, in each of these cause numbers, I'm showing you what's entitled True Bill of Indictment. Did you review those documents with your attorney? Did you understand it, and did you review them?
Yes, Your Honor.
Counsel, do you waive the reading of the indictment?
Yes, Your Honor.
State, it appears that you're waiving the repeat enhancement allegation and the motions. Is that correct?
Yes. Judge.
Yes, Judge, this is Ryan. If I could substitute in for whoever was previously here, Judge, I'm sorry. We didn't know y'all were taking a break.
Okay.
But yes, Judge, we are waiving the repeater on both cases.
All right, Mr. Cantu, in each of the cause numbers, I'm showing you what's entitled Court Admonishments and Defendant's Waivers and Affidavit of Admonitions. Did you review those documents with your attorney? Did you understand them? Did you electronically sign them in all
Yes,
their
Your Honor.
appropriate places?
Yes, Your Honor.
And each of the cause numbers, you're charged with burglary of habitation by force. That's a second-degree felony. The range of punishment is anywhere from 2 to 10 years in prison. I'm sorry, 2 to 20 years in prison and up to a $10,000 fine. Did you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
If you have a plea bargain agreement with the state, the court does not have to follow your plea bargain agreement. If for any reason the court does not follow your plea bargain agreement and gives you more than you bargained for, the fact that you entered a plea will not be used against you, and you will be allowed to withdraw your plea. Did you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you understand you have a right to jury trial, a right for you or your attorney to cross-examine and confront any witnesses the state will call, and the right to remain silent?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you understand by entering this plea bargain agreement, you were giving up those rights?
Yes, Your Honor.
And did you intend to give up those rights and enter into a plea bargain agreement in each of these cause numbers?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you understand that the court were to grant your application for deferred adjudication in each of these cause numbers, and for any reason your deferred adjudication were revoked, the court could find you guilty, not grant you community supervision, and sentence you up to 20 years in prison and up to a $10,000 fine? Did you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Meyer, in each of these cause numbers, has your client been able to provide you with any defenses?
Yes, he has.
In each of the cause numbers, do you believe he has a rational as well as a factual understanding of the charges against him?
Yes, he does.
In each of the cause numbers, do you believe he's currently competent and was legally sane at the time of the offense?
Yes, he is competent. Insane.
Thank you. Mr. Cantu, has anyone threatened you, coerced you, or placed you in fear to get you to enter the plea bargain agreement?
No, Your Honor.
Has anyone promised you anything other than the plea bargain agreement to get you to enter into this plea?
No, Your Honor.
Are you satisfied with the way you've been represented?
Yes, Your Honor.
Are you a U.S. citizen?
Yes, Your Honor.
Court will find that defendant has knowingly and voluntarily waived his right to jury trial. In each of the cause numbers, I'm showing you the plea bargain page. Did you review that page with your attorney, and did you understand it?
Yes, Your Honor.
According to the plea bargain agreement in each of the cause numbers, your punishment is to be assessed at a cap of 10 years in the prison. The state is waiving the repeat or enhancement allegation in each cause number. There's a $1,500 fine. The state opposes your application. Each case will run concurrently, and the state will take into consideration the following cause numbers in each cause: 2021 CR 8070, County Court cause number 6788886, NIMEC number 649008, CM number 96156, and in cause number 2021 CR 80858, there's to be no contact with James Glenn, GLEN, and Jacob Noble, NOBLE. Did you understand that to be the plea bargain agreement in each of the cause numbers?
Yes, Your Honor.
Defense, is that the plea bargain agreement in each of the cause numbers?
Yes, ma'am.
State, is that the plea bargain agreement in each of the cause numbers?
Yes, Judge.
In each of the cause numbers, I'm showing you what's entitled waiver of appeal paragraph. Did you review that paragraph with your attorney? Did you understand it? Did you electronically sign it in both places?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you understand by signing that you're waiving your right to appeal? The only items that can be appealed are written pretrial motions that have been filed, heard, and ruled upon by the court. Did you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Counsel, have there been any such motions?
No, Your Honor.
Then, Mr. Cantu, in each of the cause numbers, how do you plead in cause number 2021 CR 80858? Guilty,
No.
not guilty, or no contest?
No contest.
And in cause number 2021 CR 8083, how do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, or no contest?
No contest.
State any evidence to support the defendant's plea.
Yes, Judge. State would offer State's Exhibit number 1 and all attachments in both cause numbers.
Any objection?
No objection.
Mr. Cantu, in each of these cause numbers, I'm showing you what's entitled waiver and consent to stipulation of testimony and stipulations. Did you review this document with your attorney? Did you understand it? Did you electronically sign it?
Yes,
at
Your
all
Honor.
the appropriate places?
Yes, Your Honor.
Again, did you understand you have a right to jury trial, a right for you or your attorney to cross-examine and confront any witnesses the state will call and the right to remain silent?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you understand that today the state will be presenting evidence in the form of witnesses' statements and police reports, but most importantly, there will be no live testimony? Did you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Court will find in each of the cause number that the defendant has knowingly and voluntarily waived and consented to stipulation of testimony and stipulations. Court will accept into evidence State's Exhibits 1 and attachments and review the same. All right, after reviewing State's Exhibits 1 and attachments, the court will find there's sufficient evidence to find the guilty in each cause number. However, because you've applied for deferred adjudication in each cause, the court will defer finding of guilt. This will come back on May 9th for sentencing. Mr. Meyer, is a TAP evaluation needed or not?
I think a TAP evaluation should be needed. I think that we certainly will be looking for inpatient treatment in the horizon. So I think we should certainly start with a TAP evaluation. If I may also add that if one can get completed, Mr. Cantu would like to show the court that he can comply with conditions of bond and pretrial service conditions pending a PSI. So we ask that pending the PSI, Mr. Cantu could be released on a personal recognizance bond pending the PSI.
All right, PR bond will be denied. Mr. Cantu, are there any mental health issues?
No, Your Honor.
All right, then your TAP evaluation and will be done, and your sentencing will take place on May 9th. On May 9th, what will happen is I'll receive a report from probation, and I'll base my decision on your application based upon that report and any other evidence that's presented. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so Mr. Cantu, I'm going to send you to a breakout room, and you'll go to a breakout room with probation, and probation will tell you everything that's required of you. Make sure you make all of your appointments. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
So I'm going to send you to breakout room number 2. Probation will meet you there. Mr. Meyer, you can go to number 2 or you can be excused, and thank you for your patience.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a great rest of your day. All right, we'll go back on the record. And we're back on the record in 2022 CR 2565. And Mr. Porter, you were in the middle of cross-examination.
Thank you, Judge. Actually, I'm real close to conclusion.
Okay.
Mr. Ramirez, who is Gabrielle Ponce?
She is one of my service bartenders.
Okay, and at that time, she was running the hostess.
No, sir.
What was she doing?
I can't remember that day if she was actually serving on the floor or if she was a bartender.
Okay, now according to you, if I'm right, when Mr. Curry was near the door, back door, and it stated that the two cooks came out, they went on either side. You said right there next to Mr. Curry, she was one of the people you remember being right next to Mr. Curry, right?
Not right next to him, no, sir. She was on the side of the door. So if you're standing where you are right now, they would have been possibly where Mr. Curry is. There's a wall that leads right by booth 50. So they would have been in that general area.
So how many feet?
I don't know. That's a good guess. I'm just saying, based on the distance between the two of you now, I don't know how exactly many feet, but from where you were just standing to approximately where he was, a little bit further back.
Okay, so about 16.
I guess so.
And so she was closer to him than you.
They were, no, we were all probably about the same distance. It's not a very large store. And so the way that he was standing by the door, which was, I guess, like you said, maybe 2-4 feet from the front door, he was about that same distance from me. And then if you move over, the girls would have been about that distance from him.
Okay, and how close did the two cooks come to him, to Mr. Curry, when they went to open?
I mean, it's not a wide door, so I would say they may have had to come within a foot, I guess, to get around him to get to the door.
And during that time is the time that you're saying that Mr. Curry was holding the knife and making these threats.
He did not have the knife up at that time. The knife was still down beside his leg when he was inside the building. It didn't get pointed up away from his leg until he was outside of the building when I was trying to get them, or right before I was trying to get them inside.
Okay, now, so when those searches were made outside of the building, was Gabriella outside the building at that time, or was she inside?
I believe she was outside the building.
Okay, so outside the building, it was Brandon, Daniel, and Gabriella, and a fourth person that you can.
Yes, sir.
But you were inside the building?
No, sir, I was outside the building. I was just outside the front doors.
Okay, and so you all still within very close proximity of Mr. Curry?
Yes, sir.
Okay, just kind of like a circle around him?
Yeah, I mean, no, it was him. This is the best way I can do it. I'm so sorry. Say it was him. These are the front doors right here. I am right here by the front doors. The guys and girls were over here, so it was not a circle around him. We were all in front of him. That's why I said when he was swiveling, he was able to face all of us because no one was behind him at the time.
And this took place outside of the store?
This was directly outside the restaurant doors, yes, sir.
And then that's when you told everybody to get back to the store?
Yes, sir.
From there, everybody went back into the store?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Curry walked off?
He stayed there for a moment. He was still upset with me.
Okay, but he walked off. In fact, we hear that the call to 911 as he's walking off, you're actually following him for that, or just watching him.
I was just watching him.
And then at that point in time, if I heard that correctly, there was a park police officer now following him also?
It was a Riverwalk security guard. At that point, I actually had another manager. His name was Josh. He was off duty, but in the restaurant. So I'm outside. It's Mr. Curry and myself. I'm still on the phone. There's a security guard that was coming from, if I'm facing this way, coming from my left. He walked over. Josh would let him know what was going on. I'm still on the phone. When Mr. Curry saw that security guard is when he moved over and started walking that way. He initially started to go up the stairs, stopped, came back down the stairs, was directly across from Go Rio. His two friends were there. He picked up a backpack and they continued to walk down that to my right.
You said Mr. Curry, excuse me, Mr. Curry picked up a backpack?
Mr. Curry, it was, at this point, honestly, I'm going back and forth between on the phone. I just remember it was him and his two friends. He did not leave with the restaurant with a backpack. They were all over there. There was a backpack there. I cannot tell you who picked up said backpack.
So during all this time, though, they were being followed.
I'm sure they were not being followed because the security guard stopped following them.
He stopped. From
He
what,
did.
from your vantage point?
From my vantage point, he stopped. When they kept going around to the right where the Go Rio is, it's like you're walking around, it's a souvenir shop on the other side of the elevators. There is a path that leads to the left that goes right to the hotel, and if you follow it, it leads to Ruth Chris. The security guard ended up taking that path to the left as they continued to go around to the right.
And
So he did not follow them.
And Josh, where did he go?
What did Josh do?
Yeah, where did Josh go?
He went back in the restaurant.
Okay. I'll pass it.
State.
Mr. Porter asked you about you giving statements to some of the witnesses, or sorry, some of the officers.
Yes, sir.
And there was one female officer that you, I guess, told what happened.
Yes, sir.
Did we go over the body cam of that officer when you were in my office?
No, sir, I did not see anybody.
Your Honor, I guess at this time I would ask for a brief break so I can show her the body cam. I intend to offer it as a prior consistent statement based on Mr. Porter's cross-examination of the witness and how the defendant displayed the weapon.
All right, we'll take a brief recess. And Mr. Porter, you can watch the video with the state and with the witness. And so, state.
Thank you, Judge.
Sure.
Kimmy, at the time that you were giving your statements to the officers, specifically, I guess the first statement when you were still inside Hooters, what was your emotional state at that time?
Shock.
Were you still under the stress of the event?
Yes.
And do you have anxiety?
Yes.
Were you still anxious at the time that you were speaking to the officers?
Yes.
Your Honor, and sorry, you had a chance to view what's been marked as this exhibit 2, right? The video from the day.
Oh, me? I'm so sorry if I did something to the judge. Yes.
Does it fairly and accurately reflect the events as they occurred on that day in July?
Yes.
Has it been altered in any way that you could tell?
No.
Your Honor, at this time, we would offer State's Exhibit 2 into evidence.
Right, defense.
Judge, we're gonna object on numerous grounds. One, stage 2 is a body worn camera. There's been no authentication of who that officer is. That the video itself is the whole transaction of what was said, her statement, everything that she's been able to testify before the court today on. I specifically asked her a very specific question. I asked her, did she speak to the police that day? The answer was yes. And then I specifically asked her about Officer Angela Jimenez, the court remembers, about the position of the knife. That one little part of that thing. What the state is attempting to do now, Judge, is to put in an entire video based on that one sentence. And that's clearly, that video is clearly hearsay. The witness is available to testify, and she has testified. What this video does is just proper bolstering to begin with. It contains hearsay within hearsay. There's no authentication as to whose that video was. It just shows her answering questions, and they're trying to get it in as an excited utterance. That's not what an excited utterance is about. What we're here to do is to have him been able to have effective assistance to counsel and to confront, cross-examine the witnesses, which we are doing. And what the state is attempting to do is put a complete video in that has improper bolstering, hearsay within hearsay, and it's hearsay. We do not object to the specific portions of the video if they can authenticate it that it is the officer Angela Jimenez's video. As to say it's a prior consistent statement as to what she told her about the position of the knife. For those reasons, we're going to object to the entirety of that video, except for those portions if they can authenticate what that video is or where it came from.
All right, state.
Judge, I guess I'll try to respond to everything. First off, we don't have to show that it was Officer Jimenez's video. Just as when we have pictures, we don't have to prove who took the pictures. All the witness has to testify to lay the foundation is that it fairly and accurately depicts the events that they occurred on that day, and she specified to that. Additionally, there are other snippets on the video I discussed with Mr. Porter that I only intend to play the first 7.5 minutes, and that's the part that we're I guess fighting over. My first response is that that part is not hearsay. Rule 801 says that a prior consistent statement is not hearsay if it's offered to rebut an implication that the witness has changed their testimony or is saying something differently on the stand. He crossed her a few times about whether the knife was up and whether it was pointed away. He mentioned Officer Jimenez once or a couple of times, but he also mentioned her giving statements to other officers. And he's implied to the court that she never told that to any of the officers. Additionally, even if the court were to find that part to rule that it is hearsay or part of it is hearsay, it would fall under the hearsay exception of both excited utterance and present sense impression. As the court knows, present sense impression, it doesn't have to be at the time, it could be near. And at this time, this is right after the event occurred, the defendant was still being searched for. It was within minutes of the events happening. Additionally, the witness has testified that she was anxious, that she was still under that excited state. And so we would testify that, or we would argue that it falls as also under the excited utterance exception. So both, it's not hearsay, and if it is, it would fall under excited utterance and present sense impression.
All right, so this is what the court is going to do. The court will allow in the portion that goes towards the questioning by the defense that appeared to show or attempt to show that the witness was being inconsistent. As far as the other portion of the video, that will be sustained. So which portion is it that goes towards his questioning of the witness as far as, I guess, the position of the knife?
We'll have to get the timestamp on that, Your Honor. She does bring up the knife incident twice. One is just, the DA could correct me on this, just maybe 10, 15 seconds. And the other part, again, is about another 3 or 4 minutes later that they talk about it again. That was a specific one that I was talking about as far as the position of the knife goes. And that is clear on the court. I mean, on that video. So we'll just get the timestamps and say.
So if there is no objection, of course, the court is able to disregard and decompartmentalize certain things. So if there is no objection.
Well, I do still have, I would still want the ruling on, first of all, I still want, as far as my question could specifically dealt with Officer Angela Jimenez. That's not authenticated as to that's Angela Jimenez's body camera. That we don't know whose cop that is. The state hasn't produced that for us. They just have her speak.
With regards to authentication, that will be overruled. With regards to the other portions of hearsay, that will be sustained. What is coming in through this witness for now is the portion that shows that her statement was consistent. And my understanding is that as it relates to the knife, the positioning of the knife. Is that correct from both sides?
And judge, from the state's perspective, who she was threatened or who he was threatening.
Yes. Because the defense did question the witness about person standing in front of her, I'm sorry, in front of the defendant.
Excuse me, but that question had nothing to do with the video. That question, those questions had everything to do with just what she can and cannot recall about that day. That had nothing to, I didn't sit there specifically say, you told this officer this thing, or you told that officer this thing about positioning of people and stuff like that. That had nothing to do with the videos.
Okay, just 1 moment. Brandon?
Yes.
Could you go back to the point of the defense questioning the witness with regards to the positioning of the defendant in relationship to the 4 people? And if you could tell me what number that is on your real time, and I'll read it from here.
Okay, let's see.
There's a question about the positioning on page 151. I don't know if, can you see page number?
No, I just see timestamps.
Okay, timestamp 409. But there's a lot of 409, so.
Yeah. See, I have like 14, 51, 34, 90, 11, 90-11. Oh, those are the page numbers. Are we on page 90?
No, I'm on page 151 right now.
Okay, so what's the?
Okay, so where it says during that time.
If you give me the page number, I can see it now.
Okay, page 151, line 20.
Okay.
That's talks about the position, and then let me
Okay, I see that. All right, I've had a chance to read that section. All right, so what will come in is the previous court's ruling, which is any consistent statements as it relates to the knife and the positioning of the knife. Everything else for now, unless there's some other change in what's presented, is sustained. But with regards to the objection for authentication, that's overruled. All right. That's the court's ruling.
Yes, Judge, as far as, I guess I have it marked, I have a 1 minute time span and then a 40-second time span. I guess Mr. Porter can, like, if I play something that he objects to, you can object and say you don't. I don't know how else we should do it.
Well, I mean, what you can do, as I said before, what I sustain, I'm not going to consider it. So if there's no objections, if you want the state to play that, they can play that, and then they can make a separate exhibit that will be entered into evidence.
That would be fine.
Okay.
And so, Judge, would you like me to, I guess, conditionally offer State's Exhibit 2? That'd be the best one.
You can offer it as State's Exhibit 2, and that'll be for the record, and then, or either make it 2A, and then number 2 will be for the record if there's a necessity for appeal.
Are we back?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time, the state offers State's Exhibit 2A in evidence.
All right, any objections?
I do, Your Honor, and I guess we've already had those
Yeah.
objections, and we urge all those objections.
All right, the court's ruling will stand. It's different when it's just to the court and there's no jury. Okay. All right, State.
For the record, I'm starting it at the 3-minute mark of the video length. The upper timestamp for the officer's body cam is 18:59:07.
By 6'6". 2 of my male members of my staff came out to open the door, be like, hey, guys, you know, let's stop here, we have to work. Like, gotta get out of here, we're not gonna take you guys home. And then all of a sudden, he was yelling, and one of the girls saw him, I guess, reach in his pocket, and he just had a little pocket knife, maybe 3 to 4 inch away at the most. But he just had it pulled to the side, and one of the guys was like, he's got a knife. And I was like, you cannot pull out a knife on my staff, like I need you to leave. And the guys were already out there because they were holding the door open, trying to make sure that he left. And that's when he literally just kind of like has the knife away from his body, next to his body, away from his body, next to his body. And he went out there and literally threatened to stab. So what did he do? He had the knife down, he had the knife here, and then he started around, like I looked at it, saw it.
Can I ask a description?
For him,
Okay, so I'm stopping it at the 4:02 mark of the video. And the upper timestamp is 19:00:10. And then the other part is at the 6:40 length of the video.
And then James, no, yeah.
6:40 upper timestamp 19:02:47. Starting there.
Okay, and he actually has a knife. At that point, when we were about to finish talking and we were about to say, it's okay, but at that point, he was out here, they were all three of them slouched behind over out there because I was telling the two guys in the room were trying to hold the guys in time because the second that he went to go after them, with the knife, if they went into protection. So when he did that, what did he do with the knife at that point? He had his like out, kind of like aside from his body, like back up. Or out so they can see it with the way he pointed in their direction, like he wanted them to know. You're my camera.
I'm stopping at 7:20 in video length, timestamp 19:03:27. And that's all that we'll be offering there as far as 6:02.
All right, next question, state.
Your Honor. We'll pass the list, Judge.
All right, recross.
That's what it's Judge.
All right, is this witness excused or subject for recall?
Recall, Judge.
All right, so make sure that you're available. You may be called back to testify. And that will be on April 25th, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Thank you. All right, so we are going to recess at this point, Mr. Curry, because it's 5:05, and I know, or is that wrong? Yeah, 5:05 p.m. All right, you looked at me like, no, it's not 5:05. So we're gonna come back on April 25th. And we will finish up at that time. So we'll start on April 25th at 9 a.m. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Is there anything else from either side?
Robert, are you good with those timestamps or?
Well,
Do you have an additional objection to what I said?
well, no, if we're still on the record, I just want to reiterate my objection as to authentication to this video. We don't know whose it is. I specifically asked about a certain officer, but other than that, that would be my objection.
All right. And the court's ruling stand. So we're going to stop live stream. And see everybody. We'll be back on